This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will speak with Aaron Robinson of Benson Hill. We'll talk about some of the ultra-high protein soybeans that Benson Hill provides. We will also take a look at the ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Jacob Burks of agmarket.net to discuss today's closings, at the end of the closings, rather. And Jacob, what did we see today on the grain markets?
Well, that's kind of the way the markets felt all day, Mark. It was kind of a negative day to start with. We did see some liveliness in the corn market. We never made it back to a positive day. We ended up coming up and settling around here two lower in corn, throughout most of the complex. Beans, on the other hand, down 25 to 26, made it down as low as 30. Went down, tested some support, but just didn't really catch a big bounce. We ended up closing 5 to 6 cents off the lows, but relatively negative day. When you take a step back and look at that negative day, I mean, we've been across 1450 like 5, 6, 7 days in a row now. So it's just migrated back and forth, up and down, but really stayed around that 1450 level. Wheat market gave back some of the gains that they saw yesterday. Big news came during the trading session yesterday regarding the Poland NATO involved country that had some shell hit a grain facility. Coming to find out, as you look deeper into it, a lot of investigation goes, but sounds like it could be friendly fire from Ukraine defense systems. So that was a big focus of yesterday. A lot of headlines coming off of it. Market reacted positively, but ended up giving most of the gains back here as we went through today and even last night.
And that was going to be my next question, Jacob. Did we see basically everything go the other way again today after we got some more reports on what may have actually happened in that situation?
Yeah, war giveth and taketh away, and right now that's what we're taking back is the gains that we saw from and you got to look back at what's the fear. Why are we such a knee-jerk reaction? Russia supplies most of the world's grain, the largest supplier of the world's grain. The Ukraine area, most of your corn, your wheat, your veg oils, soybean oil, sunflower oil comes out of that area. And so when you start seeing more and more confrontation in that area, and then to think that that Russia was going to bomb a NATO-involved country was going to require NATO to start getting involved in this war. So hopefully that is not the situation. But the fear eased back here as we went through the night and got more details.
Jacob, what did we see then on the livestock side of the markets today?
Well, the live cattle were stronger again. They were actually $1.20 higher in the February contract. Good solid recovery off of some major support lines down from last Friday. So we've gotten a pretty good bounce here. You're going through this holiday season. You're seeing some negative things on the charts. You're seeing some widening of the spreads between Feb and April. You're seeing some cash trade that just hasn't had a big move higher, which we had heard rumors of some 154 up here in the north. Long story short is it's kind of got a good little bounce here. Feeder cattle are going to need to see that move higher in the live cattle before they see stronger demand. And a lot of this has to do with what these grain prices are going to do. So right now you kind of just look at the results of what's happening, and you're seeing $1 higher across the live cattle. You're seeing 45, 60 cents higher in the feeder cattle. Hogs, is a pretty good story. I'm assuming that tomorrow we'll see some decent exports. I hope that's the case because we've seen 2 or 3 days, increased value in these hog prices. So you kind of got your fingers crossed that this demand is going somewhere and we're seeing some movement of this port.
Jacob, heading back to grains for just a second, we know that we're following the crops in South America and how they're doing, because that obviously has a big impact on prices at the market. But what's the best way to go about following how that crop is going in that part of the world? Do you follow the day-to-day reports? Do you wait for a quarterly report? What is the best scenario there for keeping track of what's happening in South America?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, we're full of all kinds of information. I mean, one of the best ways is from the output that we have on our intel. We send out daily reports and daily looks and just news headlines of what's going on down there. And it's following the weather. I mean, you see weather forecast change in South America, and you see movement in our grain markets. And it's the globalization of the grain trade has really made it important for us to have 2 big crops a year. In South America is that number. And so as we started the planning situation, keeping and following that, I mean, that's something progress. They put out progress reports just like we do in our USDA. So going through their CONAB system and following those numbers. I'm kind of lazy. I'll let everybody put the information together for me, and then I find the major reports. But keeping your eye on that and looking at what forecasts and what we're going to see down there. They need moisture in Argentina, where they're pretty adequate in Brazil, and so. Sometimes when you're not hearing about Brazil, it's kind of a negative thing for our prices because it means it's going okay. We don't really hear a lot about it unless there's major problems down there. And right now, other than some dryness in Argentina, that they actually had some rains this weekend, there's just not a lot of problems. You're not hearing a whole lot about it, and therefore you look at the results of what our grain prices have done.
Well, we're here at NAFB in Kansas City, and all the broadcasters are going to be very happy to hear that Jacob Burks is listening to them for their reports on South America. But Jacob, if we want to flip it around and we want to find out more information on market analysis, how can we do so at agmarket.net?
Well, I do appreciate what y'all do, because I do look at a lot of the journalism and what goes on there. It provides a lot of great information for producers as well as us in the industry. But you can take a look at our website, agmarket.net. Take a look at our 30-day free trial of our Intel subscription. Keep your eyes open on our seminar, our conference that we're going to be putting on in Nashville. We'd love to see you there.
He is Jacob Burks from agmarket.net. Jacob, thank you so much for the analysis today. Have a great rest of your day.
Y'all don't have too much fun down there. Thanks for having me.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net with our market analysis here today. It's time now for a check of the closing numbers, and those numbers courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. December corn down 1.5 at 665 1/4. January soybeans down 28 even at 14.29 1/4. Soybean meal for January down 3 even at 404 even. Soybean oil for January down $2.57 at 72.10. Chicago wheat down 10 3/4 at 817 1/2. Minneapolis wheat down 8.5 at 965 1/2. Kansas hard red wheat down 7.5 at 955 1/2. December oats down 2.5 at 395 1/2. On the Merc, live cattle for December up 52 cents at 151.80. Feeder cattle for November up 2 cents at 175.70. Lean hogs for December up 25 cents at 85.57. December pork cutout up 7 cents at 95.97. And Class 3 milk for November down 1 cent at 20.98. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will speak with Aaron Robinson of Benson Hill. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today I visit with Aaron Robinson of Benson Hill. We will talk about some of the ultra-high protein soybeans from Benson Hill and contracting opportunities for 2023. Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Aaron Robinson from Benson Hill. And Aaron, could you tell us, first of all, what your job responsibilities are with Benson Hill? What is your job title?
Sure. I'm the Vice President of Product Management at Benson Hill. I'm ultimately responsible for building the portfolio of products and the product offerings that we have conversations with farmers about and driving sign up of acres to participate in our programs.
Now, Aaron, I know about Benson Hill because I'm in the, of course, industry of learning about these things. But for people that are viewers that may not know, what does Benson Hill do specifically when it comes to soybeans and what your soybeans are able to accomplish after they're grown on the farm?
Sure. Yeah. Benson Hill is a unique company. It's a vertically integrated company that's not only developing new seed varieties through our R&D pipeline, but also contracting those soybeans with farmers and then ultimately crushing those soybeans to be sold to end product users, whether that's a consumer packaged good or a soybean processing company, to drive use in things like aquaculture, food ingredients, animal protein. And so it's kind of a unique model that allows us to participate and create value for multiple players in the space.
And you say that word unique, Aaron. That's totally true when you talk about some of the food products that these soybeans go into. What percentage then are you able to say that Benson Hill soybeans go into becoming those food products, and especially those premium food products?
Yeah, so our products really are targeted around three big categories. One that we would call ultra high protein, that go into a lot of the food ingredient applications, whether that's protein shakes or other things. Then we have products that we call high protein, quality protein that have low anti-nutrient that ultimately are processed and used for things like trout and salmon aquaculture. And then the other category is healthier oils, so high oil, low lin, that would go into food ingredients as well. So a really high percentage of these are going into food ingredients or into aquaculture versus commodity soybean that may be going into predominantly livestock feed.
And Aaron, the process then for creating those products, especially the food products, is that a different processing, issue when it comes, or not an issue, but when you make the soybeans for those specialty products, do you have to process them a little bit differently?
There are some slight differences from a processing perspective, but the reality is most of the advantage from a processing perspective comes inherent in the beans, and that's part of our R&D development and the unique thing about the germplasm that we're working with and some of the technology that we're using. And so we are getting some sustainability advantages as we think about processing those soybeans. But the unique thing about these non-GMO ultra high premium type products is there's not that much different on the farm when the farmer's growing them.
Now, Aaron, if you're a farmer out there that's saying, hey, I grow soybeans right now for, commodity soybeans, and I do a really good job with that. This sounds interesting to me. How does that process even begin when you are, I guess, coming to agreements on these contract opportunities for next year and beyond?
Sure. So anybody that's grown identity preservation crops before would be familiar with some of the segregation requirements that exist on the farm. But essentially, you're trying to track from the time that soybean is delivered to the farm, planted in a field, harvested, and then stored in a bin, and then tracking that to the processing facility. So it's a highly identity preserved type of process. That's probably the predominant difference between commodity soybeans. Because they are non-GMO today, obviously there are some considerations around weed control, but there's also an opportunity for a pretty significant premium over maybe what the commodity cash market is in that local area.
So if a farmer hears that and they say, you know what, I might be interested in growing Benson Hill soybeans, how does that process start? Do you go out and look for potential farmers to grow these soybeans, or are they coming to you?
I think it's a combination of both. So we obviously have the ability for farmers to come and visit bensonhillfarmers.com and learn more about Benson Hill, learn more about our varieties, our programs, how this works. But we certainly have a sales team that is out having conversations locally, maybe by word of mouth, maybe through some existing growers that are participating in our program, are communicating that to some of their neighbors. So it's really both methods.
Aaron, recent news with the crush facility in Creston and then Benson Hill being able to use that now. Could you tell us how that has kind of changed things for Benson Hill?
Yeah, I think it's a really unique thing about Benson Hill to be able to go from R&D and develop these products, go out and position them with farmers around Creston, and then help support that farmer through the growing season and provide an opportunity for higher revenues because of the premiums that we're able to offer. Our maturity group fit in Iowa really has a nice range. There's 6 products that really fit Iowa well. We've got 4 high oleic, low lin products, and we've got 2 quality protein products that are going into the aquaculture market. So really good fit there in Iowa.
So Aaron, you talk about the premium that is, I guess, gotten for these soybeans when they're grown, but then is there a trade-off there? Do these farmers that grow these soybeans, do they have to put more into input costs? Does it cost more to grow these soybeans, or is that not necessarily part of the equation?
Yeah, really the only difference, and so if somebody's growing non-GMO soybeans today, probably not that much of a difference in terms of management costs, input costs. If somebody's making a switch from GM soybeans to a non-GMO program, there will be some considerations from a weed management perspective. But in terms of fertility or other costs, fungicide applications, all of those are not unique to the Benson Hill varieties.
So Aaron, for anything that our viewers like to know about when it comes to Benson Hill, is there anything that you would like to specifically tell them if they're thinking about, you know what, this might be an opportunity for me?
Yeah, these products I think are a really good fit. I feel good about the program that we're offering. The revenue opportunity in Iowa on these products is north of $3 in many cases. And so if the farmers are interested in learning more about Benson Hill and what we're about, what the technology is that we're using to create these soybeans, what these soybeans are being turned into, it's a really exciting opportunity for farmers to participate in, I would say, a longer part of the supply chain and really understand what these soybeans are being turned into. And they can learn that at bensonhillfarmers.com or get in touch with a local field sales representative.
And Aaron, do you foresee then that the demand for these premium soybean products is just going to continue to grow? Do you think it's going to stay where it's at? Do you like where it's at right now?
Yeah, we certainly like where it's at right now. We've got good demand for the ingredient products that we're creating. I think there certainly is a path to increase protein in diets, not only in the U.S. but globally, and so we continue to see growth and demand for these products being included in lots of different applications, whether that's milk alternative products, whether it's protein powders, whether it's protein bars, whether it's being used in aquaculture, just a really fast growing part of the agricultural and food industry.
And that aquaculture side of it, Aaron, I've heard that, fish, they do like the soybean food, or the soybean meal turned into food. They eat that just like they would fish food.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to be able to create that. And I think in Iowa, we wouldn't think about soybeans for hog feed predominantly, but it's a really interesting application to expand that use. And I think that's ultimately what it's about, is expand the use of soybeans into these unique places to drive demand, which ultimately will drive value at the farm gate.
He is Aaron Robinson with Benson Hill. Aaron, thank you so much for the time today. Have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
That was Aaron Robinson with Benson Hill. Let's turn our attention now to the ag weather outlook. We are on location at the NAFB convention in Kansas City, and on the way down yesterday, we encountered some fairly comfortable driving conditions as the roadways were not too bad. Did have a little bit of snow in Des Moines left over from Monday night, Monday evening into Tuesday, but on the way to Kansas City, the roads were very clear. Turned out to be a nice drive so far here today. Continues to be pretty much the same as we saw yesterday in the state of Iowa, where it is cold and temperatures highs in the mid-20s to low 30s. As for right now, let's turn our attention to the upcoming forecast and what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, snow tapering off in western Iowa today, highs in the mid-20s to mid-30s. Tonight, mostly cloudy and scattered flurries, low temperatures about 17 to 22. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies with occasional flurries. Turning our attention to our affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee mostly cloudy and cold, 26, the expected high. Shenandoah mostly cloudy and a high temperature around 34. Des Moines partly cloudy and 31. Albia mostly cloudy and 32 degrees. Waterloo tomorrow mostly cloudy and a cooler 29. Clinton mostly cloudy and around 36. For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. And that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find our video content in our previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Click on the notification bell as well. That will let you know whenever we have any new video content available. And don't forget our free twice daily market podcast found wherever you find your favorite podcast, whether it's Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the NAFB convention in Kansas City, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.